setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And it's Mike Lodge, and I want to welcome you to another morning at the WBT, or evening, or whatever time of the day that you're listening. I know there's a lot of people in India, in South Africa, Taiwan, all over the place listening. So it's all kinds of different time of the days all over this world. So our conversation today is going to be about mediation. Specifically about harassment. Harassment is one of those situations where you really do want to keep it confidential. And the best way to do it is through mediation. Because what happens in mediation is that it's everything that is said and done in mediation is kept confidential. If you file a lawsuit in court, everything becomes public. It's a public record. Everybody can look it up. And I'm telling you this by experience because at one point in time, I was representing a top-known boxer, international boxer, best in his league. And I had to sue this individual because of non-payment. Unfortunately, It went viral. It went public very quickly because everybody saw. Listen, like if you look at TMZ and all those other groups, they are looking at the court documents for famous people every single day, and they're looking for other kinds of situations too. So they look at the court documents. They can pull it up. Everybody can pull it up. All you have to do is register with the local legal online system. And you're up and running. You can look at anybody's tax documents. You can look at every single filing. You can look at everything that is happening in that court. However, if you do mediation or arbitration, it's all kept quiet. It's never filed in the court unless there's no agreement reached, and then it has to go into civil court. Sometimes even into federal court. So confidentiality is really, really important because everything that is said in mediation is kept in mediation. It never leaks out unless someone leaks it to the press or to somebody. But whatever's discussed in that mediation has to remain in that mediation. There are all kinds of harassment. All kinds of harassment that you don't want other people to know about. There is harassment of sexual harassment. There's work harassment. There's bullying. There's all kinds of different things that you kind of want to keep out of the public eye because, let's say if you're applying for another job and they know that you have filed some type of lawsuit against your former employer, that's going to be public record, and they want to know exactly what happened with that employee at that company. So mediation is very confidential because it never leaves that room. Even myself as a mediator, once I am done hearing a mediation case, I shred it. Now when it goes into arbitration, that's more of a semi-court type of situation, but it's private. And the arbitrator gets to make the decision based upon what has been presented to them. In mediation, you try to work out the situation so it's fair and beneficial to both parties. But that is one of those really good things about being going into mediation is because of the confidentiality of it. It's vital that everybody try to keep their legal issues and employment issues confidential. Because you don't know how it's going to affect you later on when you're trying to look for work. But even in mediation, it's always advisable for each side to be represented by legal counsel, and the better the attorney is prepared, as if he was going into trial, the better the results of the mediation most of the time. However, the mediator will keep each side on point and will not allow sides to drag things out, have heated outbursts, or get into name-calling situations, because it's a very emotional situation. The mediator will ask questions of both sides. They may take both sides into separate rooms and have private discussions before they bring them back together, which I do. I try not to. I try to get it resolved together as a group, but sometimes I got to take them both aside because there are things that they want to tell me that they don't want to tell the other side. And they may tell me it in confidence, or they may tell me to send a message over to the other side. At the beginning of the mediation, as a mediator, I always set up specific rules to follow so that everyone responds and acts professionally within the mediation. As a mediator, I always require each of the parties to submit to me an intake form that allows them to outline their issues of their argument that they're going to make to me or to the other side, and provide any information they feel needs to be discussed or resolved, which could be partial evidence and everything else. Remember, in harassment or even in sexual harassment hearings, there are a lot of emotions. I mean, it is high emotionally for these two sides. The mediator's responsibility is to keep the emotions calm and help bring reasonable options to the table from both sides. Both sides are able to walk away from the mediation at any time, and they're willing to walk away from the arbitration at any time. But all information remains confidential. But the majority of the time, the individuals involved, their attorneys, and the decision makers are able to resolve the issues and become agreeable and come to an agreement through the process of mediation. And I'm finding that virtual mediation for me is, on all kinds of mediation, really works very well. And that's the trend that we're going into, is virtual mediation. And even in virtual mediation, I can take you out of the conference room and put you into another room where I can have private conversations with you. And then move you back into the conference room. So it's a very confidential situation. You all sign a mediation agreement, and it talks about confidentiality in there. But it really is the best way to solve all kinds of business issues. Employment issues, workplace resolution of problems between employees, or even between management, or even between partners or management in a company. It is really the best way to resolve issues without spending that time going into court. And by the way, when you go into court and you file that lawsuit, the judge is going to say, go into mediation, see if you can resolve it before we come back into court. So why not go to a mediator up front before you file the lawsuit and see if you can't resolve it? If you can't resolve it, and if you walk away from mediation, then you file a lawsuit. But right now, if you have a dispute with a vendor or with an employee, or maybe there's a harassment situation going on, or maybe there is a contractual issue going on, or a partnership issue where you need to get it resolved, mediation is really the best way. Even in families, if you're having a problem within your family, call in a mediator, because a mediator can help you resolve it very quickly. But in business, mediation is a good tool for every leader out there, every business owner, every employee or employer. Use mediation to resolve differences, disputes. I encourage you to do it. Listen, if you want to know more about mediation, just send me a text at 818-252-5682. Again, that's 818-252-5682. Mediation is really the best course to go through. Sometimes you can do it by yourselves, and sometimes you need an attorney, depending on the complexity of the issue. The majority of the ones that I see are between people. When it becomes very complicated, like in a sexual harassment case, then attorneys usually show up, which I love, because they have a more clear, precise argument rather than the emotional argument of the individuals involved. So I encourage every single one of you, mediate as much as possible, because it solves so much. It relieves you from so much time in preparing for a huge legal case when you can resolve it through mediation. Remember, if you file in a lawsuit, that lawsuit may go on for a couple of years, 3 years. I had one that went on for 3 years. Mediation, I tell you, it's the best. It's confidential. It's private. You can say what you need to say and come to an agreement with each other to resolve this issue. Listen, again, send me a text if you have any questions on mediation to 818-252-5682, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions. Everybody go out and have a great day. We're almost at the end of the week. We're getting close. Talk with you soon. Mike Lodge, over and out.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast was produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.